Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Geek Fruit is an IVM production, and if you happen to like our show, then you're probably going to like the Poudcast, a Bombay-based food and culture podcast hosted by the Daily Pow. So if you want to check out cool stuff in Bombay, you know where to listen.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. My name is Tejas and Jishnu is here as well. Hi Jishnu.
Hello.
Today we have a cool episode. We're talking about a couple of movies today. We're going to be reviewing a straight up review, but we're going to be slightly spoiler free because...
I like that it's slightly.
Yeah, because we're
there
going to...
may or may not be mild spoilers.
Yeah, when I say mild spoilers, I mean like maybe early plot points in the movies, which we can discuss. And just our reactions to them in general.
Well, I meant that as a sarcastic retort.
Oh, shit.
I now redact my sarcasm.
So, the theme for today, very accurately pointed out by our producer who's sitting right here, Naveen. Hi, Naveen.
Hey.
So, he mentioned that the theme for today's episode is war. And
what is it good for?
Yeah, I know, absolutely not.
No, it makes a lot of money in the box office.
I think that was the ha in the song. But anyway, we're going to be talking about two movies. One, Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's movie. Now, why are we reviewing Dunkirk, you may ask? And the answer is...
Who actually wrote that song, War?
Tom
what
Jones.
Is it good for?
It was a Tom Jones song, isn't it?
Really?
Isn't it?
What?
Yeah, I was going to talk about Dunkirk, but sure, now let me use this time to refute.
Because everybody knows that Nolan G. Sir.
Oh, who wrote the song? I know Tom
what?
Jones definitely did the song.
Edwin Starr.
Who the hell is Edwin Starr?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. So Nolan is a cool guy.
It's a counterculture era soul song written by Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong for the Motown label in 1969, year of the moon landing.
We're not even 3 minutes in, and this has been beautifully derailed. I love this.
By the Temptations. There you go.
Was by the Temptations? I love the Temptations.
Yeah, I believe it's the
Bruce
original is
Springsteen
by.
as well.
They're so tempting.
Everyone's done the cover.
Everyone's covered it.
Yeah, it's almost
Okay.
like a standard now. Sorry, come back. Why are we doing Dunkirk again, Jishnu?
Because Jackie Chan did a great version of it. They did it several times throughout the series. I think that song was used in all 3 movies of Rush Hour.
Yes.
Right?
All the rushes of the 3 individual hours.
It's stupid. They really should make it a TV show because it's got hour in the title. Would you not watch? I would
you
watch
just blew this
every
wide
season.
open,
Every
yeah.
season, if it's just Chris Tucker
You mean
and
if it's like-
Jackie Chan stuck in Russia,
Like 24?
just singing. Yeah, make it like 24. But
Oh, that would be so good.
But it's basically them just
There is a
stuck
TV show now.
in. Wait, there is a TV
There's
show?
a Russia TV show?
Yeah, like
What?
a spin-off with two, like an Asian dude.
What is it called?
What's it called?
It's called Rush Hour.
What?
No.
Who's the Asian dude
I don't
and the
believe
non-Asian
this.
dude?
Oh, can I make 2 informed guesses?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the black guy has to be Damon Wayans. Okay. It has to be.
I'll give you any of the Wayans. You'll be right if it's any of the
I know
Wayans
Damon.
brothers.
I like Damon. He's my favorite Wayans brother. I think he's the most respectable out of all of them. And should I say Damon Wayans Jr., right? That's his,
You could say you're in Wayans' world.
okay, all right. Nice one.
You can't see me grinning,
Nice,
but I
nice.
am.
The black guy is James Carter.
Damn it.
James Scott.
Justin Hyers.
You mean Jimmy Carter?
Sorry. The actor is Justin Hyers.
Okay.
Justin who?
And John Fu is the...
John Fu.
John who?
Some new kids on the block.
So Nolan is like really beloved amongst all nerds of any kind, I think, because
People are going to think that was an edit.
He hasn't missed.
That's how smooth that transition
I
was.
don't think he's missed the mark since Memento.
Memento was the first after Following. Following was his short film that came out, black and white one. Then it was Memento. Then Insomnia, I want to say. Yes. Then 2005 was Batman Begins.
What was The Prestige?
After that, 2006.
Oh, that was after that. Yeah.
He does one movie in between the Batman trilogy,
Right.
as far as history documents it well.
Sure.
The Prestige, The Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar.
Yeah.
And now Dunkirk.
Kirk Dunless.
Yes.
Cool.
So we're going to be talking about Dunkirk, and we're also going to be talking about War of the Planet of the Apes. What may not be actually the final installment of this trilogy, as far as the
There's a
director-
mild spoiler for you.
No, as in that's what Matt Reeves has said before the movie released. I think it ends perfectly, but
I didn't get to see this movie,
Yeah.
which I feel really bad about because I totally should have. But I assumed like a fool that this movie would be in theaters for more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a shame, you know.
But-
I'll tell you why it isn't also. I mean, these movies, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War of the Planet of the Apes, all mouthfuls. And but all of them have been... It's been one of the most underrated trilogies, I feel,
totally.
of this decade. And
Absolutely.
and I think War of the Planet of the Apes is the best movie this year.
Nice.
By far. As in, like, for me, at least in terms of like the big action blockbuster films, as far as those go, I think for me, like, Logan and this movie kind of top it this year, which is why I really want you guys to watch it. But so should we just talk about War?
Get into it.
Yeah, okay, cool. So War of the Planet of the Apes kind of picks up maybe 5 years later after the second one, which was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So now if you just, arc out the trilogy, you can see, like, in the first one, the simian flu kind of gets released and people start to get sick. And by the end of the movie, Caesar, played by Andy Serkis, who's a legend, who deserves an Oscar pretty much for this, he kind of retreats into the San Francisco kind of wilderness, like into the forests, and he takes his band of apes and they go and live there, peacefully. In the second film, we see that there's the simian flu has kind of eradicated a lot of the human population, and Jason Clarke's character is the only one who's kind of sympathetic to the apes, and but there's still a war that is about to break out. And basically, a character from the second film who's actually a big part of this film, whose name is Koba, he's an ape who basically goes bad.
Right.
He goes rogue, and he basically tries to
Let me pause you for just a second.
Yeah.
So it's been how many years since the last one came out? Like,
it's been 3-4 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So you are definitely one of the most invested people in this trilogy that I know. There aren't many. Like you said, it is very underrated, and I'm with you. But I too sort of forgot about it a little bit. I mean, they were great movies, but just simply because they didn't put all the money into marketing these movies like they normally do.
I don't get it.
So would somebody be totally caught up to speed with this movie? Like, do you need a refresher?
So basically, in the beginning of the film itself, there's a text kind of introduction that is given. But I mean, and again, these movies all stand by themselves. You can watch them individually,
exactly.
and you can totally get into it. But the weight of this one central character, which I feel, which all the movies are about, is about Caesar. It's all about Andy Serkis, man. And I think, man, like, over the last 10 years, the graphics have become so insanely good.
Stupidly good.
It's ridiculous. And man,
Did you see him on what was it? Some late night show. I think Colbert.
Where he does the Gollum thing, right? Yeah,
well, no, but they also did that was one clip. There was another one where they showed footage of the transition from live action to animation, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, this guy has pretty much spearheaded this entire, and he's got, it's all Weta Workshop, so they've kind of just been doing this work for so long. And obviously a lot of people know him for Gollum, but he's done, he's been Captain Haddock, he's done King Kong.
I forgot about Haddock.
Yeah, he's also in, and he's Caesar in these films. I think Caesar is his greatest kind of legacy character, if you will, and now he's also Snoke, obviously, in the Star Wars films. But yeah, the emotion and the weight of this character throughout these three films is really what makes it for me. And in this movie, it feels like the story is really it's almost like biblical, man. And they've used a lot of biblical. They watched a lot. Matt Reeves, the director who's going to be directing the Batman, he spoke about how they looked at a lot of old biblical tales to kind of tell the story, because he's just pretty much like Moses, right? Like, he's trying to lead the apes out of all this trouble and lead them into a safer place, a safer haven. Anyway, so we pick up in this movie where most of the humans are dead, and basically there's one military unit who's basically trying to kill off all the apes, and that's led by Woody Harrelson, who is amazing. But even Woody Harrelson can't stand toe-to-toe with a CGI like Andy Serkis. So, I can't explain it. So there are a couple of things which I really enjoyed about this film. One was the fact that it's just really well written. A lot of it is silent because in the movie...
how much ape lingo is there?
So about 50% of the movie is silent-ish, because a lot of it is Caesar, who speaks fluently in English, right? Only he speaks in English, and all his, his entire entourage, if you will, communicate through sign language, because he taught them all sign language. And also another recurring character from the previous movies is Maurice, who's the big orange orangutan. Yeah. And so basically, he is the only one who kind of speaks to everybody in sign language, and they don't often kind of use English. But he does, and the way he speaks, and so good. Another great addition to this movie is Steve Zahn.
I love Steve Zahn. Oh my god, I haven't seen that guy in so long.
And you don't see him in this. He plays an ape called Bad Ape, okay? but he literally steals every scene he's in. He's so
But does he
good.
sound like Steve Zahn? I love his voice.
He's the only one who basically. So basically, Bad Ape is this character who's revealed like somewhere in a third into the film. It was an interesting piece of trivia, but Andy Serkis and Matt Reeves were asked, did anyone else get affected by the simian, not the simian flu, but basically the thing that went out in the beginning, the laboratory. I can't remember what the name of the
virus.
Not the virus. The virus is what the monkeys give, but basically the injection.
Okay.
Did anyone else get affected by it?
Sure.
Did other apes who weren't in this laboratory get affected by it? And so they thought about it, and then they wrote this character into the film, who's basically an ape who used to live in a zoo, and he basically started becoming. He's never been around. He was in captivity, so he's never learned how to speak ape. So he only speaks English, which is really interesting when it's opposed of another character who's this girl who gets named Nova a little into the film. So this is a small girl, and she can't speak because of the virus now spreading and devolving human beings into like more, primal characters. So it's a nice little, bit of writing there.
Juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so she doesn't speak, but Bad Ape speaks perfectly good English, and it's just really amazing. So just to kind of give you the premise of this film, the apes are trying to leave. They want to protect their rainforest, their forest and their home and everything like that, and they're being hunted by, some of these militarized people. And
Woody's hunting them.
Yeah, Woody is literally hunting
In
them.
the woods.
Yes, essentially. And then what happens is, so basically they capture all of these guys, the apes win. But instead, he says, I won't kill you guys. Send a message that leave us the woods and you guys can kindly F.O. and stay out of my life. And he says this in perfectly good English and amazing. It's really good.
Myself, stay, yourself.
No, he says,
Good folk.
basically he says, ape together strong, which is the greatest, most amazing. I want to get that tattooed on my back. Like, that's how good it is. Ape together strong. Anyway, so basically he sends them off, but Woody Harrelson comes and commits many acts of like really, I can't reveal, I don't want to spoil it, but like basically there's a bit of a tragedy that happens to Caesar, and because of that he wants to take revenge. And what happens is his friends keep telling him that if you do this, if you go out on a limb and leave your people, then you're exactly like Koba. And he's being haunted by the by the memory of Koba, who tells him that ape does not kill ape and stuff like that. So but he had to do it because he had to put him out. He had to stop him from creating more war. And so now he's at the same position where he has to do this because he can't get himself to think about anything else. And so he goes and hunts this military unit. So I'll leave it at that. It's...
Okay, riddle me this then.
Yeah.
It's called War
Yes.
for the planet of the apes.
Yes.
So is that the stakes? That
No,
if,
it's not.
If they win, they get the planet?
No, it's not. It's basically the planet is already lost. The planet is already lost, and there are these few kind of, lasting units of like human beings, like there's apparently one in Alaska, and this whole thing is set in like, I don't know, I guess the northern, Americas where it's
Sure.
like really cold, there's only snow. So to
it's
see
very
that,
dystopian.
it's amazingly like contrasted between, apes in snow, first of all, amazing. It's just
But-
really great to look at, and just it's very dystopian. Now, so basically one half of the movie is this whole setup, and the second half of the movie happens entirely within this military base. And there are lots of themes there which are really interesting. I mean, like there's the whole, slavery thing, the whole, there's a lot of biblical elements to it. But a lot of it happens there, and it's basically about Caesar trying to free his people. Like that's
Sure.
that's essentially what the movie is about.
But what's up with human civilization? Is human civilization completely destroyed?
Most of it is devolving, and basically Woody Harrelson's character is he's kind of plagued. Basically, he has a little bit of a backstory. It's not a spoiler or anything like that, but basically in one monologue that he gives, he says that he's become a crazed like despot pretty
Sure.
much, where he says that
And is
my
he the
son,
leader of the
he is the
people?
leader. So he's the leader of a last remaining like human military zone.
Like a vigilante military?
Yeah, like a
okay.
vigilante military, because a lot of people are trying to shut him down because he's killing humans when he finds out that they're devolving.
Helping.
Yeah, no, when
Oh,
they're
right,
devolving.
okay.
Yeah,
But
and
so-
so basically in this little monologue he says that I had to execute my own son and the moment I did that, I realized what I have to do to save our species.
But
Yeah.
so we stay in the Americas for this entire thing. But then is this a global
It's not at all
thing?
global.
It's not a
no,
global thing.
no.
It's just like it's isolated.
Which is
to-
why it's so amazing.
It's,
It
it's,
reminded me a
it's
lot of-
war for the northern territory of the
Yeah.
United States of the apes. Okay,
Pretty much.
Cool.
But it's fantastic because it's so well written. Each scene is like each scene is so heavy and so intense, but like it's so watchable. There's enough like action and grenade launching and all this stuff. It's all there, but most of it kind of is the weight of the film lies on like Andy Serkis's character Caesar, and it's brilliant. I think it's definitely like no movie made me feel so many feels in like one entire sitting. Like I was like tearing up at like 8 different spots in the movie, and I was like, and I went for this movie alone. I was in Kerala and I didn't have the chance to watch this movie here. First of all, 2 things I want to say about Kerala. One is butter popcorn. Why don't we have that here?
They have butter popcorn there?
They have salted butter popcorn.
Like, is it the kind where you can pump your own butter?
You can ask for it, yeah, and then you can pour it on the guy. And you
But
can
like,
ask for extra.
Can you pump
No,
it?
you
Okay.
can't. But
Damn.
it's amazing.
I'm sure.
And
Yeah,
it's
no,
really
it is.
good.
Butter popcorn is. Like,
And the second thing is, I
standard.
went to the most schmancy ever theater. I sent you a
Oh,
photograph,
yeah,
right?
with lamps.
Every sofa reclining seat or whatever had a lamp and a
But
table
that's
that was.
horrible.
It was.
If you're not the guy with the lamp, you hate the guy with the
No,
lamp.
everyone has a lamp.
Yeah, but like the dude who's like got his lamp on.
No, the lamps
Is it
automatically
complete-
go off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like when
So
the
then
lights are on.
when the lights are on,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
like-
Basically, in between the interval and the thing, there are
You
lamps, which is why it was just
I
like
guess.
indulgence. Anyway,
Yeah,
but it was a great theater, and it was, and I watched it in absolute like solitude because it was like in the middle of a Wednesday or something in the afternoon in Kochi.
Nice.
So yeah, it was great, man. I had a great time watching this movie, and I think just that I could focus on it was really great. As opposed to some of my experience last night during Dunkirk. But I definitely think this completes like a very perfect trilogy. You get very few of these, man. Very few
I know.
trilogies.
I'm really bummed I didn't get to see it in theaters
where-
because it's one of those. It's a underappreciated rarity.
Yeah,
of-
it's a real gem, man,
Yeah.
this series. And the thing is that, rarely do I see a trilogy where most of the parts are like equal, if not succeeding each other, like in getting better. I mean, like Toy Story may be one of those,
Yeah.
but I mean, like even The Dark Knight, we know where it falters. Lord of the Rings. I mean, Lord of the Rings actually gets consistently better, but yeah, The Matrix and all. You see these trilogies and you love the world and you love the characters, which is why you'll stay with them. But this one adds something to each movie's story. Like it's just like chapters in like a really rich. And it's so weird, right? Like, why am I suddenly invested in Planet of the Apes? Like, I may have seen like the Charlton Heston one once on TV.
Yeah, so
and then
like
we
when I was,
also
like,
the Tim Burton one, and it was shit, right? With Mark Wahlberg. But this just ruined it. But this series has taken the right things you should learn from Planet of the Apes, which is like, things about like the human condition and this. And it's weird because you're watching apes and you're rooting for apes. This is so strange because in the movies you would root for the humans because the apes are the villains and well, it's not black and white, but you find like the planet is ruled by the apes and literally these guys are trying to survive. But in this you get to see the actual. I feel like the world has changed and like now people hate humans because everyone knows we're all ruining the planet and everything like that. And because of that you suddenly get like super sympathetic towards these apes, and especially Caesar, who's like Batman, dude. Like he's so good. Like Andy Serkis, man. Like I remember Ben Burt received an Oscar in 1977 for Star Wars. He got a special honorary Oscar because of the sounds that he made for that film. They should give Andy Serkis a special honorary Oscar. If not, because they're never going to give him Best Actor. Nobody in like mocap is going to get Best Actor, at least for another maybe 10 years until they suddenly need something to keep the Oscars alive.
His Lifetime Achievement Award should come a lot sooner rather than later.
Yeah, dude, this guy he's really pushed. And I was reading this article about like Andy Serkis. He just says, he's like, obviously when you're trying to be an actor and you're trying to get into a role, you can get lost in a role. And he's like, I get lost in my roles. Like he's like that. He's like Daniel Day-Lewis type. And he's been doing these movies and Caesar is such a dark character. And he says like, I have to apologize to my family because sometimes I get like so into it that I don't speak for days. I don't do this. And so he has given everything to this movie. And you'll see that. Like you will see it in this movie. He'll like, oh my God, it's so good. Like the feels are so strong. And I'm just like, dude, this movie, like, it's kind of like Logan. It reminds me a lot of Logan because that movie itself also kind of takes a character that we know for so long, pushes it to the brink, and now we see the, like, this whole, thing about Hugh Jackman giving, this amazing final performance. And it's just like, wow, that's so good. And I think similarly, you get to see, like, Caesar grow over, so many films. And he's, like, still a young ape. He's, like, in his 20s. But as a 20-year-old, like, chimpanzee, you become, you're an old one. Or like a
you can rent
middle-aged
a car.
one. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it is definitely I think it's my favorite movie this year. I hope we get to see better stuff like in the year, but I think I was really waiting a long time for this movie to come out, and it did not disappoint.
Last Jedi, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Cool.
Last Jedi, yeah, definitely.
Let's take a little breaky poo.
Yeah.
I said breaky poo.
Yep, we'll take
And
that one.
cool, Nolan things on the other side of the poo.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India, but unfortunately most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started atkt.in. Hi, I'm Ankur, I'm a musician and a rapper, and I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through atkt.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. atkt.in.
Hey, we're back. This is the Geek Fruit Podcast. Tejas and Jishnu here. And we're talking now about Dunkirk.
Okay,
Right. So Dunkirk.
here is how I will get at this. I guess I've seen the majority of Nolan's work,
Yeah.
minus like the one or two that you mentioned, the black and white one,
Following.
and the one in the early 2000s.
Insomnia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those two. Minus those two, I think I've seen all
Yeah.
the rest of them.
Yeah.
And every movie that I've seen of his, I would give a solid 9.0,
Yeah.
if not more.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? This one,
Yeah. Did you not like it?
maybe like a 7.
Yeah. So
A solid 7.
I feel it too. So I came out of this film thinking that was a technical,
Yeah, yes.
great,
Wow, I'm
technically
surprised.
solid film.
I thought you would love this.
I liked it. There was nothing not
Yeah,
to
exactly.
like.
Yes, I'm with you. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
The fact that you opened with technical, yes, we're on the exact
Yeah,
same page.
you know what I mean, right? Like,
Okay.
tell me this, okay? If you can measure all Chris Nolan films in fist bumps and awesome feels, like
This movie had 0.
It has
movie had-
very few. There I will give this movie 1 or 2, and I'll
Like
tell
which-
you
where?
Okay, one where the feels are there.
Are we going to spoil this?
We
Here's
are
the
gonna-
thing.
let's-
Okay, here's one more.
What?
Okay.
Wait, okay.
Before we
Let's
address
spoil the movie.
Before we address
Here's the
spoiling
story.
it, you can't spoil this movie.
You can't spoil historical facts.
You can't spoil historical facts.
Yeah.
And on top of it, it's the kind of movie that is flawed in its premise. When I see an interview with one of the cast members, I saw Kenneth Branagh talking about it,
Okay, yeah.
and he tells you the plot, which is 400,000 soldiers trying to leave Dunkirk to get
Mm-hmm.
back to England, and 300,000 of those 400,000 make it.
Yeah.
That is the entire movie.
That is history.
That is literally the entire movie.
Yeah.
And we don't know anybody's names really. We don't
Very
know.
little, yeah.
We know almost nothing about the majority of the protagonists.
Yes.
The antagonists are
Faceless.
just faceless.
Yeah, they don't
So
exist. You don't see a single face.
The
yeah.
amount I cared about this movie was pretty much in the negatives.
Yeah, yeah.
I yawned
you didn't,
quite a
you,
bit.
I did too. I watched it at 11:45 at
Likewise,
night.
yeah. But hey, we watch a lot of movies at 11:45,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
and they're fine. But yeah, so the problem was for me,
Yeah.
like you said, technical proficiency all the way is expected as it should be. I would
Yeah.
be very upset if it was anything less.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the promotional material for it, and when I looked at the promo stuff after I saw the film, because I
Yeah.
stayed away from stuff that might
Correct.
give me spoilers.
Right.
Every single piece of marketing material for this movie was
Yeah.
bragging about how they went to extreme lengths to create rigs and setups for their IMAX cameras to
Yeah.
be handheld
Yes.
and all that whatnot. And of course, the movie is beautifully
It is
shot.
beautiful, yeah.
The sound
There's
treatment
no
is
doubt, yeah.
amazing. But
Yeah.
of course it is. It's Nolan. Of course you'd expect that. But I get excited for a Nolan film to have my mind
So
blown.
true.
And my mind was incredibly bored.
No, here's the thing. We hold Chris Nolan films now to such a crazy standard.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not, I'm going in for the movie thinking, so this is what I thought. Okay, now, when I had seen this movie last night only, at least at the time of this recording, and so that means that most of the people who I hang out with have already seen it, okay? And now, I don't usually ask for people's opinions and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
stuff, but you know how people are,
Of
they'll
course.
give it to you
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, yeah.
So the people, I told them obviously restrict your comments and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that, but most people are like, wow, it's amazing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's so many different perspectives. And the
Yeah.
other thing was, there's so many different perspectives. You can't watch it once, something like that.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, okay, cool. So in my mind, I started to think, hey, is this a non-linear film? I was right about it.
Yeah.
Okay, it is because the man does not know how to make a linear
He
film.
just can't.
Okay? He does not know how to make a
he
movie.
is drunk. He can never walk in a straight line.
He cannot make movie
He
from
writes a
point A
script.
to point
He writes
B.
a script like one page is like vertical, the other page is horizontal, and like I'll just play Tetris, and eventually they'll meet at some point.
So the guy can't do it.
Yeah.
But and while that is an interesting way to approach a war film,
Yeah.
especially considering the different like land, sea, air.
Sure.
I see the whole
Yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah.
But you're right. I don't think I got as invested in any of the characters because we didn't get to spend a lot of the characters. Maybe the only two characters I suppose were the two young boys from the beach,
Yeah.
who basically who we see from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. So
Yeah.
that's the people you've spent the most amount of time with, and
Right.
so
But that's also because they are like us, the audience to the war.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
So the yacht with the three of them, the
Yeah.
father, and the two kids.
Mark Rylance, love him. Sorry.
Badass. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, like the performances were amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
really good.
Again, our boy, friggin', with the mask in his face, still does
Yeah.
a great job. No problems.
Yeah.
No problems whatsoever with execution for this movie
Yeah.
at all. It was beautifully done.
Yeah.
Now, here's a point that Dinkar mentioned to me. He hasn't even seen the movie yet.
Okay.
And I was just having a chat with him, and he said, did you notice the lack of Jonathan Nolan?
Yes.
And that made me think.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's a beautifully executed script.
Yeah.
It's a really crummy script.
But he didn't
Because-
Jonathan Nolan wasn't involved in, say, Inception. He wasn't.
At all?
No, it was all Chris Nolan.
He wasn't
And,
a producer at all?
No, he was. I mean, I guess he's been busy with Westworld, so he's not been like kind of
I
doing
guess.
stuff
Okay.
with it.
Well,
I'm
I'm
yeah,
just
but
guessing. I
fair
don't know. I
enough.
don't know if that's the reason. But the thing is,
I have another theory as to. Okay, now here's the thing. All Chris Nolan's films have been like either science fiction or like action. So
Yeah.
there's something there like we can always be like, yeah, it's cool, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
This is a war film. So this is a more straight up film, which is like, this is his most realistic film, if you can say that, right?
I mean, it is based on real events.
Yeah, it's exactly. So now here's the thing. I expected, and if I may use this is not going to go down well with anybody, but when Ashutosh Gowarkar made Lagan
Okay.
and Swades,
Okay.
both really good films, okay?
Uh-huh.
Then he announced, I'm going to do Jodha Akbar. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I love Lagan. Great twist, because in none of the marketing material for Lagan did you know about a cricket match.
This is true.
Yeah, so when everybody went in,
Yeah.
people were like, what did I just watch? Only the greatest movie of all time. Second movie, Swades. Great story because a guy comes from NASA, helps his village out. Awesome film, really good soundtrack. Great film. So when he announced Jodha Akbar, I was like, wow, how is he going to treat this? Is it going to be like a murder mystery, but like with Jodha Akbar? Or is it going to be like, what is it going to be? And it ended up just being a straight up like, war, like a badly made war film, and just trying to rip off like movies like Troy. Now, and which is not a good movie to begin with in the first place.
Shouldn't.
Now, similarly for this film, I was just like, wow, this is war.
Yeah.
And I remember Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
The psychological drama that happens to every soldier.
Yeah.
I'm going to see that in a way
Yes.
that is like Sherlock
Yes.
or something.
Yes.
It's going to be
That's
crazy.
what you
right?
wanted.
I'm going to see the
Yeah.
mind palace of every guy,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
psychological thriller. And I was just let down
Yeah.
that we didn't see that. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that's what he was going to do because all his movies have the theme of like either time or the psychological part
Mm-hmm.
of it. Like whether it's Batman or whether it's, The Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
Both amazing films about the psyche of a human mind. And like, I just didn't see it in this, man.
So I think this is going off an interview that he did with, I think, IndieWire not long ago. He was grieving and basically moaning about how much he hates Netflix.
Yeah, I saw
And
that,
remember
yeah.
that? So he said, and
That's
I quote,
stupid,
he says,
yeah.
I quote, they have this mindless policy of everything having to be simultaneously streamed and released. So they're not even getting in the theatrical game, and I think they're missing a huge opportunity. But with regards to Amazon, he says, you can see that Amazon is very clearly happy to not make that same mistake because the theaters have a 90-day window, and it's a perfectly usable model. It's great.
Yeah.
So he is all about the theatrical experience. He
course.
doesn't like the 15-inch screen viewing which we have now, which is a
yeah.
fair point. Obviously, a theatrical experience is far better.
Yeah.
However, not everybody is
Gets
one
to
of the
use the
most
theater, yeah.
most sought after directors. Like he's off the league where they will build IMAX for him.
Yeah.
So I think I can't really. I have to take his words with a gigantic
Oh, no, I just disagree
bag
with him
full of
straight
salt.
up,
Because I
yeah.
mean, like, you can't
No.
tell me don't make films unless you make them in the theaters because not everybody has $1 bazillion budget.
I just straight up disagree with him.
And so
yeah.
with this movie,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really felt like everything in all BTS and all promotions for it, in all interviews, he's only bragging about the IMAX and the experience and the sonic quality, which is great. I mean,
It is good.
It was astounding.
It
Yes,
is
of
really
course.
good, yeah.
But I equate it to Mad Max in that it's a brilliant roller coaster ride. But I can't tell you the first thing about the story in Mad Max. It's been a while. And that wasn't the point of that movie for me.
I love that movie.
It was a great experience, but I can't remember much about the movie other than like that was really cool. Much like any roller coaster.
Yeah.
The thrill was great, but there was nothing
To take home, yeah.
Nothing to take home with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And Nolan is an expert at that, and I feel like he just
Nolan's
sort of
an expert at, having discussions after the film,
Yes.
like forever.
See, the thing is, I can rewatch the Dark Knight series, I can rewatch Inception and Interstellar, and every time I will pick at something new and go, wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's true.
This movie, I have zero interest in watching it again.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
do not want to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Which I'm very surprised at hearing myself say.
Yeah, I know.
Because I love the guy, but I really think he lost the plot, and he kind of got carried away with making a brilliant experience, which he did,
Yeah.
but not an experience I care about.
But, and this is my second theory, I think he's going for Oscar gold, and that's the only reason why he did this film.
He better get one for like the
Yeah,
production
for
aspects.
for cinematography, Hoytema, the guy who did Interstellar as well. Great cinematography.
Amazing.
I think
Great.
DOP wise,
Sure.
he's like one of the best.
Yeah.
Definitely for that. I think for sound design, even for music, it's very possible that they could get like the Oscar nomination.
sure, sure.
I think he was kind of going for direction and for Best Picture, which I don't think he'll win because
I hope he doesn't,
because the movie is not like a movie where it's a very. It's kind of like Sully. I don't know if you saw that film.
I did see Sully.
So Sully is a very blow-by-blow account of what
Yes.
happened, and it doesn't add its own opinion to it, which I don't. I'll watch a documentary if that was actually documentaries have more of their opinion involved in the making of it, right?
I can put you like this. I agree. Yes, it's like Sully, and Sully was a very good film, but again, one of the most forgettable Tom Hanks films I've seen. And
Yes.
I'm like one of the biggest Tom Hanks fanboys.
Yeah, and you have not seen The Circle, also. That's why.
Yes. But so I thought that like the timeline thingy where, 3 different stories and whatnot, it was cool the minute it started. I was like, okay, cool. This is Nolan's ballpark. He's playing by his rules, which we know now pretty well.
Yes.
But the point of it, I thought, while I got like, yes, you're meant to sort of feel like a soldier, you don't know what's happening in and but again, it didn't amount to anything. There was no payoff to that. There was no payoff. The point of the point of messing with timelines in Inception made sense because it's integral to the plot.
There is one moment in the film where they all kind of align, and that was cool.
And I was like, for like 5 seconds, I was like, hey, you guys met. But they're like, do I give a damn?
Yeah,
I was like, I don't even know your name to begin with. Like, what do I care if you meet the other guy?
Yeah,
And again, okay, here's another thing.
Yeah.
I know it's historical, so you have to just play by the facts as they played out.
No,
but
I mean, you don't have to.
Well,
I mean, like,
to a large enough extent.
You have to make sure the events happen. Yeah,
you have liberty to tweak it, but you have to, if somebody dies, somebody dies. You can't like walk away from that. And war being war, surprise, surprise, a lot of people die, right? But so it kind of got a little. I don't want to say boring because that makes me just sound like a bad person, but it kind of got a little boring when I see like, hey, we won, or like the pilot shot the guy out of the sky, amazing, we're fine.
That was a good first one moment.
And then another plane shows up and kills him. It's like, oh crap. And then like you cut to another scene, like, hey, we got out of that one. Oh crap, here comes another bad thing. It's it was sort of rinse and repeat of like, yay, oh, yay,
but that's what it
like
was.
A very boring roller coaster.
But I think, somewhere I don't remember where I was reading this, but I felt like that's what people were dubbing it as, like the cycle of fear or something like that, right?
Sure.
Like, so it's supposed to come in waves and go and stuff
Absolutely.
like that.
I got the point.
And I get
why he did it. I just didn't think it was a good enough
No, but
reason.
here's my thing. I don't think the characters were as strong enough for us to kind of care about them. Because, like, in today's world, I feel war, people are apathetic to war. Yeah? Like, Syria's been going on for so long, like literally from the beginning of time, that, people are just like, oh, people died in Syria. Oh, okay, cool. People die in Kashmir all the time. Oh, yeah, well, guess people die. But 9/11 happens, and then that's like a huge thing.
White people died, and then you get scared.
And then you're just like, whoa, that's never happened before, and stuff like that. So I think people are, anyway, as it is, it's sad to say, but they are apathetic to war.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes us care is when we know if we have lost somebody, if we know somebody who's there in it, and you have to build characters who you can care about. Yeah. And I don't find that many to be there in this film, even though there's that thing about George, the kid who is in the boat, and he just he wants to do something with his life, but it happens all very suddenly and quite randomly, and I didn't realize what Cillian Murphy's thing was. I think the depth that they think he thought he was going for, I think he didn't get it. He didn't dig as deep.
Now here's the thing.
Yeah.
In the brief conversations I've had with friends of mine who did see it as well and loved it, they would keep going back to that moment and keep going back to similar, like, tiny little glimpses where, like, I don't want to spoil it, but, like, there's some backstabbing and there's a little bit of, like, espionage going on and whatnot, and a couple of different things. And, like, wasn't that amazing? I was like, yes, that would have been amazing if I gave more of a damn about it.
Yeah.
Like, the moves were there. Like, the fact that the little boy dies innocently, that is a very poignant moment.
Yeah.
But the stakes were not high enough for me.
Yeah, as in, like,
because
we didn't spend enough time. See,
the thing is, it's marketed as a virtual reality experience, which it probably was the closest virtual reality experience I've had in a movie theater, like, where I feel like I'm in the thing, right? Because he did such a good job of really immersing you in every moment between the cinematography and the sound and just how loud it was. Like, my friend actually had to put on, like, earplugs because it was just way too loud, which might just be PVR messing with us. But that's a comment for another story.
You're talking about this whole immersive experience. I still think Saving Private Ryan is the most, like, if you want to know what it is to be a soldier in a war which is crazy and chaotic.
Or Band of Brothers.
Yeah. The first 10 or 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, the storming of the beach, is
brilliant.
Like, and the fact that there was no blood and gore in this film at all, I guess because they were trying to go for a rating.
Yeah.
But, and I think that also kind of made me feel like, oh, we didn't see the, when these, at the mall, when these things are exploding, we don't see like the body parts. And if you really want me to know this is war, I felt like that rating is important. And Saving Private Ryan,
it is pretty graphic.
It is so graphic. Yeah. And the other thing about that movie is that it's a fictional story or maybe based on a true story, kind of obviously adapted, but set in a real event. And I thought Dunkirk was going to be something similar.
Yeah, I was
and
really
not just going to be a historical account, And while there may have been, they alleged to characters in this film, there weren't any, like, there wasn't like a story that was happening. It was just like different vignettes of stories. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so that was my point.
Let's take another pause and tell more things about the things we're telling.
Yeah.
See what I did?
Hello, I'm Sanjeev. And I'm Tushar. And this is the Rotomouth Podcast, a weekly show where we talk about motors and motoring in India. Cars, bikes, rickshaws, buses, friends, familiars, and time pass.
Find us every week on the IVM Podcast app or any other app you might use. Stuck in traffic? Put on Rotomouth. Taking a while in the loo? Rotomouth is there for you.
Dude, that sounded particularly disgusting.
Thank you. But seriously, catch Rotomouth every week.
Ahoy hoy. More things. Go.
Talking about
Tell them.
Dunkirk and War of the Planet of the Apes. So actually, Abhimanyu, my flatmate, he said, he's like, I told him my favorite movie this year, War of the Planet of the Apes. He's like, wait for Dunkirk. Saw Dunkirk. I'm still with War of the Planet of the Apes because
it was his favorite movie of the year.
I think he's really enjoyed it. I think the most because he's a huge Nolan fan, and I am too. It's not like we aren't. We love Nolan.
I really want to know why we don't like it so much.
But I'll tell you why. It's because
are we jaded?
No, it's not. No, we're not. I'll tell you why. It's because we expect a certain type of cinema from Nolan, and this is a perfectly. Now tell me if this movie came out in India, okay?
Yeah.
If Ashutosh Gowarkar made Dunkirk, I would think this is an amazing film.
Yeah.
For Ashutosh Gowarkar because
Yes.
But my point is, I think we've just come to expect a certain type of cinema in the sense that we are looking for what Nolan is going to do that is going to blow our minds in a really awesomely cool way, in a very pop culture way. Because I think what Nolan does is that he takes good pop culture, like science fiction, whatever he's done, even with magic and The Prestige, and taken it to a level that we would find really, really cool as young people. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does.
And the thing is that with Dunkirk, it feels like a dramatic film, which literally any good director could have made. Like this could have been like a Ridley Scott, not Ridley Scott, maybe Oliver Stone, right? So Oliver Stone has done all these really great accounts, but even Oliver Stone movies have like that, that thing about it. I felt like this felt like very naked in the sense that it didn't have that quality that Nolan usually brings to the table when he makes a film. Even his so-called assistance on Man of Steel. But when you watch Man of Steel, you can see the Nolan influences. Like few things like, which I still remember when it just keeps coming back to me about Man of Steel. The tornadoes, yes, definitely one thing. The second thing is giving Superman's suit some meaning, right? And I feel like that's such a Nolan touch. They could have just been like, oh, okay, cool, this is Superman, this is the suit of the US, boom, he's out.
Yeah.
But what they did was they said, this is a symbol of hope. The S actually is a symbol of hope. And the uniform that he's wearing is what people wear on Krypton. So it makes sense that he would wear that to represent his people. And it's not just like a cape and a suit that he's wearing. It's not just a superhero suit. And I felt like that's a very Nolan touch, right? Like to give something meaning which people have taken for granted over a really long time.
He's always been really good about having layered characters, right?
Yes.
And in this one, seeing he's always going to pull in the best A-listers, and seeing Kenneth Branagh, and he'll always be Jarvis to me.
James Darcy.
Yeah. When I saw them, I was like, great, come on, guys, let's do this.
Yeah,
Friggin' Shakespearean.
Yeah, Mark Rylance.
Let's do this.
They've got the biggest actors,
and
man.
they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They were just there giving gravitas of like, hey, it's Kenneth Branagh, he's wearing a suit, he must be important. He is important. I believe him that he's important. He's barking orders. Cool.
Yeah.
Now what? Now let's run away from bombs again.
Yeah.
And that was it.
It was insanely serious, this film.
It was really,
I get it. I get it.
I don't know, man. I just feel like
a little let down. Yeah,
I just feel let down.
Yeah,
he's so much better than this. It was a perfectly good film. But he's capable.
It's like talking about a friend that we all really like.
I do. I was really pumped about it.
Yeah. So was I. And I got really pumped about it. Like in the last 6 hours before going to watch the film, because I was like, wow. Because I've just been like, oh, it's Dunkirk, it's a war film. It's not like Batman. If it was Batman, I'd be like, yeah, this is on now. But it was Dunkirk, it's a war film, and I get the reasoning behind it. The whole, people coming to the rescue of heroes that we have, right? Like the whole New York coming to Spider-Man's aid in the first Spider-Man. All of that stuff. He's like, apparently this is the first iteration of that, and this is the story that everybody forgot. And he says, this is the event. The tagline is, this is the event that shaped our world. And it may be that because apparently if the British soldiers didn't get back home, then they wouldn't be able to fight again and then win the World War.
Sure.
So, in that sense, but the fact that, it's so separated from everything, they don't mention the word like Nazis, they don't have the word, they don't have World War, those things stated at all. It feels like a very isolated thing, obviously, because they want to put it from the point of view of the soldiers and everybody who was there. But it felt really isolated, and I think stakes are exactly the word. I just didn't feel it. Like, I didn't feel those stakes. I do think, yes. Okay, let's stop talking about the bad things of this movie. Good things about this movie. I think, yes, some of those scenes are, especially all the air scenes, man, those were like, and I was on the IMAX, that is fantastic. There is nothing like that I have seen. The color obviously was great. Technically, like we said, it is very sound, and it is awesome. But I just think, narratively, it just does not, it does not pull together.
I like how you brought up, let's talk about good things.
Yeah, no, I'm going to ask you.
No more than 10 seconds.
I want to ask you.
We're on the same page, man. Like, it's, technical proficiency. I haven't felt so engrossed in a dogfight, an aerial dogfight since Top Gun.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Top Gun is great, though.
Of course.
And the sequel's coming also.
But other than, it was told really well. The story was told really well. It was executed really well. Everything about it was
also,
great.
it's his shortest film
I just didn't
of
give
all
a
time.
damn. Yeah, it was under 2 hours.
It was like a 1 hour, 45-minute movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, did he just phone this one in?
That's my problem, man. I kind of feel like he did. I kind of feel like he phoned it in.
But here's the thing. Okay, cool.
He spent too much time doing the flashiness.
How do we akin this to something else? It's like, for example,
Avatar.
No, I was going to
Avatar.
say Chris Cornell doing the Timbaland album. Okay, now the Timbaland album, which he released, I think it was called Long Gone. Okay,
I
bless
didn't
his
hear
soul.
it.
But
Okay.
Full left turn from what he's usually used to doing.
Yeah.
And obviously people were disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't think about Chris Cornell or Timbaland and you listen to the album, it's fine.
Sure.
And I think this is like that. And I think maybe Chris Nolan just said, guys, let's give all this time and brain shit a break.
Yeah.
I just want to make a straight up war film.
Probably.
And he can do whatever he wants because he's Chris Nolan. He made this movie in 100 million, which is about 150 or 200 million less than what he usually uses.
Okay.
He did get a 20 million paycheck for it.
Okay.
And 20% of the proceeds that would come in. Now, I think he must have pitched this as, hey, I really want to make this film because I'm a staunch British patriot and I want to make this for my people.
Yeah.
It is a chill film. Nothing is crazy in this.
Yeah.
And the WB guys were like, sure,
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And then he did it.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it was a hard sell. I don't think Chris Nolan will ever have a hard sell to make in his life anymore. I mean, that was a done deal once the Joker set foot on screen. That was done. Like, okay, cool. You can make all the movies in the world, buddy. We'll give you all the money.
Yes.
So I feel like maybe I don't want to keep sounding like a dick, but I feel like he's sort of like he's just spoiled now. He's like, well, I can make any movie I want. I'll make a war film and I'll put my Chris Nolan like standard moves of like linear time jumping and stuff like that, just to sort of, and I'll validate it by saying it's more immersive to make you feel disoriented, which it does every time.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
But I cared about it because there was a really good point to it in Inception. There was a really good point to it in Interstellar because it was relative and necessary to the plot and the characters. In this one, it was only necessary to make you sympathetic to the feeling that the characters had.
Yeah.
But I still didn't care about the characters themselves.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
I was like, yeah, man, war is disorienting. But I knew that. Now I can vaguely say I can feel how disorienting war is.
But you could feel that after Saving Private Ryan.
Exactly.
Spielberg has done it, guys.
Spielberg has made a far better movie.
Spielberg is a far greater director.
Yep. Yes,
That's why. Sorry, I'm putting it
I'll
out.
say it.
My gauntlet is done.
I will take it.
Well, we'll find out with Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to find out with. He is a great director. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I will say that. Obviously, Chris Nolan's like a director for our ages. I think that's
I'm
probably
already
why.
clenching, like bracing for like the barrage of hate we're gonna get.
Why? We spoke very honestly, and I'm sure we're saying the words a lot of people are thinking, but because it's Chris Nolan, they just won't say it because like they just believe in Chris Nolan. It's like I believe in Harvey Dent, Anyway, just to come back now, Syncope apparently wants to do Bond. And I think it would be great for him to do Bond.
Enjoy.
Yeah, but I'm surprised because he's still getting the same writer. Like the writers from the last few films are still going to be writing this next one, which is coming in 2019. So I would think that if Chris Nolan ever did a Bond film, he would just like say, okay, throw out everything.
Yeah.
Let's start again and start from scratch.
Sure,
and when I
why
say
not?
that, I mean like...
if it is a new Bond, then they might as well.
it's not a new Bond. It might just...
It might be them, but
it's going to be Daniel Craig.
They haven't officially declared that. They're still...
Yeah, it's not official yet. But it might just be, because...
He's in talks.
Yeah.
Whatever like that.
And when I say
phrase.
that,
I love that
in
term.
talks means like, raise my check, please.
Yeah. How many? Come on, one more zero?
Yeah,
One more zero?
yeah.
2 more zeros? Okay,
And
cool.
then we'll talk. Yeah, no. So, and he can do that. He did
let
two. I mean, I told you, I really like Spectre. I think Spectre is even better than Skyfall. So they ended it twice, the series. They could have ended it at any of those two films, and they haven't. So I would expect, I would really have Chris Nolan to do a young. You know what he would do? He would make Bond the code name, and like he'll do the passing of the mantle there as well, like Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
Meets
Some
Joseph
nonsense.
Gordon-Levitt.
I think he said Jesus.
Joseph
Daniel Craig sees Jesus. And Jesus like, oh, damn.
His name's Christ.
I'm JC. I'm JB. What up?
Yeah.
And then Damon Wayans shows up, and it's like, it's all okay. No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So-
JB Smooth shows up. All the JBs. Johnny Bravo.
What's the drink? Huh? The J&B?
JD.
J&B, dude.
Jim Beam?
Not
Jack
dude,
Daniels?
guys. J&B whiskey. You don't know that?
Oh!
Oh my God, the green bottle.
Right, the green bottle. I mean,
it's one of the most famous.
Most
all
whiskey
you,
bottles are
all
green.
you plebs just drinking JD. JD is great though, but anyway. Point is, he'd do a good Bond film. But you think he's exhausted all his moves? Like he's done space and he's done time.
That is exactly how I feel. I feel
And
like
he's done superhero.
He's no. Oh,
And he's
you
done
mean-
magic.
Oh, do you mean moves in
Nolan.
terms of like the
Genres.
genres? Okay, no. I
He's
feel
done
like
space, he's done time,
I feel
he's
like
done
his,
superheroes, and he's done magic. I don't know what else he's gonna do.
I feel like his
Bond, I
his
think.
storytelling techniques are getting a little tiresome.
But it's not tiresome, it's just that's what he's good at. And we love watching that.
Right? No,
He didn't use them in this film.
No, he did. That's the thing.
So I'm saying
to no avail. He did.
he didn't do it in this film.
The time thingy,
yeah.
though,
But I'm
okay,
saying
that's
his thing is writing good films,
Yeah.
and he chilled out on this one.
A thing shouldn't be, I chose to not write a good
No,
film.
I chose not to make a deeper film than is expected. Like, I
Yeah.
feel this is the kind of movie that would win a Best Picture because it's that same blow by blow, kind of account. And it's like that very King's Speech, not King's Speech, like the overcoming a great obstacle kind of winning
well,
film.
the difference is that in a King's Speech
I
or
love
like,
King's
or like a
Speech.
Revenant or whatever, which are like very straight up. Well, I think King's Speech is quite a different movie, even though it is in the same time.
I did
or
love
whatever.
it though. Yeah.
Like I think Revenant is a good example of this kind of like straight up. It's about this thing, this versus that, and then
Overcoming this obstacle,
yeah.
so to speak.
But
yeah.
I mean, that's most stories is about somebody versus somebody else
Yeah.
and overcoming an obstacle. It's just that I didn't care about either party.
So you think this will win just the BAFTA then?
I really hope
I will be surprised if it doesn't because I really think that's what this movie was for. So for him to get his Oscar and then he can go back to making other movies, man.
I don't know. He should like get Jennifer Lopez and do like a rom-com, Made in Manhattan 2.
Like the Tesseract. All right, cool. I think we've really done this. We've done one half of the running time of Dunkirk.
I don't enjoy hating on
Nolan. I'm still not hating on this film. I think the movie is good. I just don't think it's his best. That's all. All right, cool. Sorry, I just got it.
What?
Doing old Bond with Sean Connery.
Doing old, like Logan.
Yeah. Yeah?
That'd be cool.
That would be good, right?
That'd be cool.
Ah, shit. I got it. Okay, cool. That's our episode. Thank you guys for writing in. Some of you have. We will respond to you. And you can email us at...
Good save.
You can email us at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought about Dunkirk, War of the Planet of the Apes, and,
What do you think Nolan should do next?
Yeah, what do you think he should do next? And let's...
Maybe we can spam him together.
At Geekfruit HQ on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Jishnu is on Twitter as at...
Dinkstinks.
At Dinkstinks, no. And I'm at Jishnu Guha.
Yeah.
And Dinkar is at Tejas Menon. All right, cool. Thank you very much. See you later, you nerds. Bye.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी,
बोलिए मैडम।
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, टिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है। आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम। आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप, सब आपकी उंगलियों पे।